get started. He looks like he's ready. She's ready. Let's go. Let's do it. Good evening. My name is Jim Munford, and I am president of the Friends of Fairview Stories Behind the Stones. I had known Jaime for quite a few years in the past, but it wasn't until working with him on the bicentennial that we got close. Jaime first performed Stories in 2011. There's a photograph up here from that very first scene in Stories that we did. In that scene, it was about the Lucy Walker Explosion, October 1844. It was estimated that 50 to 75 people were killed. They don't know how many was on the ship. They don't know how many were there. At least 14 of those victims are buried here in Fairview, and there is a large amount of them in a single grave, just a mass grave. Jaime portrayed the Reverend Joseph McClary Jr., who survived the explosion. Janice played Miss Lowmiller, who was a New Albany resident who cared for these people as they brought them into town. I mentioned the photograph. Look at it when you go out. And now we're going to hear a little from Janice about Jaime.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jaime and I first met in kindergarten. I was wearing the Little Red Riding Hood costume with the mask, and Jaime, he had a great big cowboy hat on in that picture. We were together, went our separate ways, Mount Tabor. I went to Silver Street, but we met again in the new Green Valley. We both had Catherine Adams, a brand new teacher from Kentucky, from the hills of Kentucky, in a brand new school. We learned a lot, and we taught her a lot. That was the year that my mom and dad said, well, we're going to go down and we're going to see the new Stephen Foster story. You may take a friend if you wish. Okay, I was, being an only child, I was used to taking friends everywhere I got to go. I said, I'd like to take Jaime. My mother went, you're only 12 years old. You're not taking a boy anywhere. You wait 3 more years. Yes, Mother. And I looked at my dad and he goes, I agree. So, took a girlfriend, we had a great time. We're in the gift shop. We always had to visit gift shops. We're in the gift shop and I have found a book. And that book had the lyrics, it had the notes for playing on the piano. It had everything from the Stephen Foster story. And I'm looking it over. My dad comes and leans over my shoulder and he says, well, if you would learn to play those on the organ, your mom and I could sing with them. I don't want this for me. I want this for Jaime. My dad said, okay, I'll buy it. We met again in the New Albany High School band. I with my clarinet and him with his tenor sax. But we formed a small group of friends. It was much nicer to have a small group of friends in that great big building, that you always had a friend somewhere, and the band was a good spot. And we just had lots of fun. We'd party at each other's houses on the weekends. We just had lots of fun as a group of fun and friendly friends. We did not see each other again until the class of 1966 20th reunion. At that point, I was just recently divorced, so I brought my daughter and her boyfriend. Jaime had his new wife, Kim, and we all joined in with the class of the friends that we had not seen for 20 years. And we moved a bunch of tables together and we just sat down and we even went out after the reunion and had more party. We had a lot of fun. My daughter wanted to go see Dickens on Main Street that Christmas. I said, okay, sounds like a good thing to do. We'll go. Lo and behold, who should we run into? But Jaime and this adorable little 3-year-old boy named Scott. Jaime said that he'd just gotten divorced and he was bringing Scott out to show him what storytelling was all about. Good idea. We walked up and down the streets together, had a good time. So I looked over and I saw my daughter and her boyfriend. Can we leave now? Can we leave now? You know, the clues you get from teenagers. So, yeah, we left. We wished everybody a Merry Christmas and went our separate ways. On Valentine's Day, my doorbell rang. My daughter opened the door. Mom! Mom, come quick! It's that man again. It's that Jaime guy. We keep seeing him. Mom, you better hurry. He's got something for you. So I rushed through the living room into the door, and he's standing there with his wonderful, loving smile, and his eyes were twinkling, and he goes, "Happy Valentine's Day." And I looked at him and I said, "How did you know where I live? How did you know? I didn't tell anybody where I'm living now. I told nobody. Nobody knows I'm living here. How did you know?" And he looked at me. The smile got bigger. The eyes got more loving. And he said, "I called your dad. He told me everything I needed to know." At which point, I looked at him. I smiled. "Thank you." I pulled the card in and pulled him in. And that was the beginning of the next 33 years, wonderful years of our life together. Jaime was always interested in doing neat things. Anything interesting always caught his attention. He was at the very first Corn Island Storytelling Festival. There he met Dr. Lee Pennington, and they're friends for life. He also told stories at that festival and got his Kentucky nickname. If you call him Jaime over here, they'll know who he is. But you cross that river, you gotta call him Thorny. He wanted a group of people, a whole bunch of people who wanted to tell stories came to him. We like to get together. Why don't we get together one night a week or one night a month or something, have dinner, and that way, you know, we can practice stories together. So he organized a group called Tale Talk. Tale Talk is still in existence. Lots of friends in there. Let's see, our last meeting was 2019, and he was president. He also, another great thing he loved to do was search people's ancestry, so he was president of SIGS, Southern Indiana Genealogical Society, 5 times. He enjoyed that. We had so many things in common. One of the things we had in common, we kind of wanted to research out first-person reenacting. That is where you don't just take a character and tell about the character, you become that character and then you speak as that character. And that sounded kind of fun to us. So we went to Locust Grove one night and to a meeting, and they made a pretty good impression on me, and we made a pretty good impression on them. Because before we left, we had new names. Anne Clark Gwathmey, the sister of George Rogers Clark, and my husband, Owen Gwathmey. I will be portraying Anne Clark Gwathmey this year at Locust Grove. Owen will be out of town on a business trip. We have portrayed the Gwathmeys at Locust Grove for 20 years. When came along the Indiana Bicentennial? We love going to Corden, and we were hanging out in Corden one time in 2016, and somebody came along and said, "Would you like to be Governor Hendricks for the state bicentennial?" And Jaime said, "Sure. What do we do?" And that was simple. We launched the torch. We taught every 4th grader in Harrison County from the Capitol that year. Taught them all about Governor Hendricks and his wife. We also traveled about 18 different places. Then we got a letter saying we would like all the reenactors to come to the Capitol. Come to Indianapolis, and we're going to return the torch. Oh boy, we jumped in our car with our costumes on, and off we went. We got to the Capitol, and they were assigning people spots in the Capitol, and they looked at us coming in and said, "You must be Governor Hendricks." And Jaime went, "Yes, we are." And so they said, "Well, you know, Governor Pence is out of town right now, so why don't you take his office?" Okay, we can do that. And we did. And we portrayed Governor Hendricks and Governor Pence's office. Lots to look around in the office and see, by the way. And we enjoyed that. And about middle of the afternoon, I looked up at the crowd coming in, and in that crowd was Governor Pence. And I thought, oh, this ought to be interesting. And I tried to eyeball to Jamie, who was just ready to start. So we paid no attention, to that. So we did a marvelous job of presenting Governor Hendricks and his wife. Afterwards, they were trying to shoo Pence out and say, we're going to make him leave. We'll give you back your office. He goes, no. And Governor Pence walked up and shook Jamie's hand and said that was amazing. I learned things about Governor Hendricks I did not know. And you've been teaching the 4th graders in our state all these things. Totally and fascinating, amazing. Would you please join me at the podium at 4 o'clock for the return of the torch? Jamie was thrilled. Jamie was thrilled. That was quite an honor. And he did thoroughly enjoy that. Many things we've done. Stories behind the stones. We were the first here. Jamie didn't matter if he was a character, if he was a person walking, if he was a chaperone, whatever. He was the leader. He knew everything about every character we were doing. Every character. Now, if you look in your program, you will see that his hair is rather long. And that was because he discovered the true love of his life and the most fun he's ever had. And that was with Six Guns Entertainment, commonly called Cowboys. Do remember the hat in kindergarten? He watched more cowboy movies. He had to have watched every cowboy movie alive before he grew up. He loved being with cowboys. He loved the street fights, he loved the gunfights, saloon fights, you just name it, he loved them all. Six Guns Entertainment produced a movie called The Prodigal, and they asked Jamie to be a country doctor, little knowing that they were fulfilling something in his heart. When Jamie was growing up, his mother and his grandmother would talk about his great-grandfather. His great-grandfather was a country doctor in Kentucky. And they would say all these things about this wonderful man. We got in our car and we drove to those towns in Kentucky to see anybody had ever heard or knew him. We did find some people who knew him. And that just thrilled Jamie to no end. So when he was proclaiming a country doctor in his heart, he was doing honor to his great-grandfather's memory. He was doing adoration, memory, everything, fulfilling that of his great-grandfather, Dr. Andrew Thornton. Now, we know so much about Jamie, but there may be one thing you don't know. Somebody read him The Wizard of Oz in the 5th grade, and you will notice by my outfit tonight, we were total Aussies. Completely. We would buy things at yard sales and then go to the Kentuckiana flea market and sell them. Somebody came up one time at the flea market and said, do you know there's a Wizard of Oz festival in Indiana? No, tell us about it. And so the guy said, well, I don't know anything about it. I just know it's at a town called Chesterton. That's all I know. And you're on from there. Took Jamie 2 days to find Gene Nelson, the owner of the Yellow Brick Road shop, and that was the founder of the Wizard of Oz Festival. Soon we're on the phone telling her who we are, and she says, well, I do have a space for myself. I was going to put some things out, but if you have Wizard of Oz things you'd like to sell here at the Yellow Brick Road shop at the festival, well, just come right ahead. I think we would enjoy having you. We couldn't wait. And she said, you do know the festival's in 3 weeks. No, we didn't. But for the next 15 years, you couldn't find us anywhere but in Chesterton, Indiana, at the festival. So we sold a lot that Friday. We set out our stuff, kind of looked around. People from all over Indiana were there. All kind of people. And then they came from other places. And then Saturday morning we set up. Really nice. All of a sudden, Saturday afternoon, we saw the crowd kind of part. And in came the little people in costume. Jamie goes, they couldn't be. They aren't, can they? Do they exist? I don't know. Well, how could they? I don't know. I didn't know. So he jumped out of the booth and ran behind him and found out. And ran to Jean Nelson and she said, "Oh, you just met the celebrities of our festival. Those are the real Munchkins from the Wizard of Oz." And we both went, "Whoa, whoa!" So we just left our booth, left all our stuff sitting there. Nobody took it. We followed them around. Caught some people's attention by following around. We were so excited. So later that evening, Jean came and said, "Time for you to close up. There'll be someone coming to see you in a few minutes, and tell her I recommend you." I looked at Jamie. Did we do something really wrong? I don't know. Maybe we did. So the person came shortly thereafter with a clipboard and said, "Hi, I'm with the Wizard of Oz Festival. I'm in charge of Munchkin ambassadors." And we went, "And what's that?" And she said, "Well, Jean Nelson has recommended you." And Jamie said, "Well, what do we do if we're Munchkin ambassadors?" And she said, "Oh, well, Thursday night you pick your Munchkin up at O'Hare Airport." This is before 9/11. "You take your Munchkin to the motel, and they are your Munchkin to be in charge of on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You get in the limousine with us, and we take them all back to the airport. You are totally in charge of anything they want, anything they need, anything you think they need. And this is what you wear. Because this gets you into everything with your Munchkin." We were Munchkin ambassadors for the next 15 years. This medallion is from 2012. It was the last Wizard of Oz Festival. We had in our car Margaret Pellegrini, the flower pot child. We had in our car Carl Slover, the one of the end that was in the nest when they were waking up the babies. We had in our car Meinhardt Robbie, the corner, and I can tell you from experience, he is a lot smarter than we ever gave him credit for. He's quite a smart man. And for 5 years, we had Jerry Marin, the leader of the Lollipop Kids. He was the most fun, I think, of anybody, but he was a whole lot of fun. We enjoyed Jerry and had so much fun. You know, there's a do not smoke thing in my car because I had teenagers. We don't approve of smoking, so do not smoke. Who's going to tell the Lollipop Kid he can't smoke a cigar? Not us. We would buy the bourbon cigars and take them to him. Jerry said he had a lot of things to share, and one of them was a secret. And we went, "Really?" And he said, "Yes. Victor Fleming made us promise. Cross our hearts. All the Munchkins had to promise we would never share this secret." And Meinhardt said, "And you're not going to share it right now, are you?" Jerry said, "Yes, I am." Meinhardt didn't say another word. And Jerry shared the secret. And very quickly, when you watch The Wizard of Oz, next time on a big screen, small screen, any screen, I want you to carefully pay attention to the Munchkin Land sequence. Because that night at dinner, Victor Fleming came in, "Attention! I want one more final dress rehearsal tomorrow for just the Munchkins, the Munchkin Land, all of that, everything in that scene, because in 2 days you're going home for Christmas for 2 weeks. I want one more rehearsal, so you got it down your heads." And they always all said yes. They never argued. So that was fine, and so that I want you in makeup at 3:30 and on set at 7 a.m. After that, you get to go home for Christmas. Well, they didn't know the Munchkins had nowhere to go for Christmas, but the other stars did. So they went through everything. The marching was perfect. Jerry did his part perfect. Even Meinhardt was fantastic. So they're all out taking it easy. And he's about to tell them that they can go home when 2 technicians came out of the crowd over there and said, "We need to talk with you. We need to talk right now." He said, "Well, I'm getting ready to, we need to talk. Don't let anybody go anywhere, Mr. Fleming." "All right." So sit down on the yellow brick road. We're done marching on it. And he goes with the technicians. And he goes to the tech tent. And there he finds out that in the scene where Margaret Hamilton is going down the tube with the fire all around, Margaret Hamilton's face and hands and arms were badly burned. They had gotten her out, and he says, "Well, we have to go there right now." "No, Mr. Fleming, there's something else we have to see." "What?" "Well, somebody glitched your show. And watching carefully. Galinda is fanning. And she says, ew, the smell is sulfur. That is not in the script. Never was. Never had been in the script. She was ready to go home. She was 10 minutes from being done, out of costume, and on her way home. Ew, the smell of sulfur. He looked at it, and he said, I'm not changing this now. Gentlemen, cut and print. What you see in the movie, straight from a Munchkin's mouth who was made to swear to secret, is the dress rehearsal. They never did it again. They did not get, ooh, the smell of sulfur out. It is still there, so the next time, listen carefully to Galinda when she's fanning, because you'll hear it. It's still there. They didn't film it again. They went home for Christmas and came back and went on with the rest of their movie. Jerry Marin had one wish, and that was to live to be the last living Munchkin. He died 2 months ago, 2 years ago, at age 97. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Jaime flew over that rainbow and into heaven on May the 4th. I'm sure he was greeted by all the little people who loved and adored him, and I'm sure Jerry Marin was there to march into heaven with him. Thank you.